Hello and welcome to the Amazing Nerdiverse. I'm Jeff Grant.
I'm Steven Tugert.
This is the podcast where we talk about all things good and geeky that make up the Amazing Nerdiverse. We're talking movies, TV shows, video games, comic books, and guess what? Look, we're in video. The reason for that is we're going to be talking to the guys from the Shanlian on Batman podcast. We're going to be talking to Justin Shanlian and Kyle Davis. Unfortunately, Tom could not make it, but we'll have the four of us. We're going to be doing like a roundtable review on Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have not seen the film, you may not want to check out our spoiler review just yet, because spoiler alert, we're going to be talking spoilers.
Spoiler alert, Chris Pine is the Green Lantern.
That is not true.
Or is it?
I don't know.
I do. I saw the movie. Yes.
Okay.
At the very end.
Very end. Oh, post-credit scene?
Yeah.
I didn't stay through the credits.
And he goes like this. He goes, Psst! Green Lantern.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we didn't get into the spoilers yet.
Bam!
But,
Green Lantern.
I'll throw up a spoiler alert thing before that, because that ruined everything.
Or did it?
All right, without any further bullshit, here is our chat with the guys from Shanlian on Batman, where we're talking Wonder Woman. Hey guys, we're here with the guys from Shanlian on Batman. There's Justin Shanlian and Kyle Davis. How's it going, guys?
Doing good.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, Tom Harper is the other guy from your podcast. He's may or may not be able to join in on this conversation as we go. But Justin's going to keep an eye on that and let us know if Tom can join in. So before we get started talking about Wonder Woman, doing our spoiler review of Wonder Woman, so where did the Shanlian Batman on Batman podcast first come about? How did you guys get started with that?
So me and Kyle used to work together, and we used to listen to Fat Man on Batman like religiously.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Kyle had the relationship of we were like Kevin Smith and Silent Bob. Like that's how we would just bullshit about movies and culture, and like we used to talk about like The Walking Dead. And I knew I liked Kyle after I asked him. I said, Kyle, what would happen if your mom was a zombie? And he looked at me, he paused, he looked at me, and then he just as loud as he could, he goes, bang! I was like, you kill your mom? He's like, she's a zombie. So as soon as he said that, I was like, I like this guy. And then we would just talk about Batman and our love of Fat Man on Batman. We would talk about Chris Nolan, the trilogy. We would talk about Tim Burton stuff. And we would just always would just talk about like, man, it'd be really cool if we could do a podcast. And we would always just like muse about it. And my buddy Tom, he's a musician. He has like all this equipment, and he's a huge Batman fan. I knew him from high school. So and he'd always like hit me up, and he'd always talk about like Fat Man on Batman, and he'd be like, yeah, we could do this. And I never like thought it would like really turn into anything. I was like, yeah, we should probably do that. Like, just not like, I'd always kind of like roll my eyes at the idea of it. But then one day it's like, you know what, why don't we do that? Because he stopped in at my work at like 6 a.m. on his motorcycle, and we hadn't seen each other. Like, we'd always just like Facebook. We hadn't like actually seen each other for a couple of years. So we both, I was like, is that Tom? He looked back at me, is that Justin? So we both like talked for like 25 minutes about like just doing a podcast. And we just one day I was like, hey, I'm gonna come over. You wanna just record? He's like, yeah. And that's basically what happened. And Kyle wasn't on that first episode, but we had him on like right after that. So it's just been kind of like snowballed into this wholly other thing that we had no idea would ever happen. We just wanted to like be like Kevin Smith's Fat Man on Batman, just have cool guests come on. Yeah. Like we would seriously just talk about like, you know, it'd be really cool if we had Paul Dini on, and like Paul Dini was on like a podcast. And like another one was like, you know, it'd be really cool if we had like Lieber Mayo on, and like Lieber Mayhill was on a podcast, and I was like, hey, what if we got like El Mayende on? He's like, yeah, that'd be really cool, like, because he was like really like scooping like some really hot stuff for like so long, and like we had to like go through like a couple people just to get like an invitation to him, and then when he came on, it was like, so that's like how it happened, like a brief little 800-minute like story of that. So I kind of rambled.
You know, it's funny, like you say some of those names, it's like, oh wow, it'd be cool to get that person on, and then like you get him on, and then me like, oh, it'd be cool if we got our friend Atkins on that we knew since like high school. And it took like a couple of months. Like
that's true. Yeah, we've had some pretty cool guests so far. You guys have had some cool guests too. You were talking Paul Dini. You had some other really great guests. Chris McKay, the director of the Lego Batman movie. That was cool. Yeah. You guys had him on like right after they announced the whole Nightwing thing, didn't you?
Yeah, that was a crazy thing because he was supposed to come on like a Friday night, and his publicist emailed me and said that there was like a meeting going on too long, and then like that night he like it was announced he was going to be Nightwing. So like the next morning I was like, hey, would you want to still come on? He's like, yeah. So that was kind of like, whoa.
Yeah. He's
like,
still, even though he's doing a Nightwing movie, he's still making the time to do the podcast and everything.
Yeah,
awesome.
we thought we were gonna get him on again, but he just is busy. Like his schedule is like crazy right now, which is understandable. Sure, yeah. So
you've also had Jay Oliva, Lauren Lester, the voice of Robin from Batman the Animated Series. You guys were saying in your episode with him, he's like your preferred Robin. He's like your ideal Robin. I mean, that's what I grew up with.
Yeah, that's the voice I hear.
Yeah, I grew up with the animated series and stuff. So, and how long have you guys been doing the podcast? You're up to how many episodes now?
91 or 92, and we got like 2 just waiting to be edited right now. Mm-hmm. We just had Dan Alter on. He works with Umberto on the Heroic Insider, and he's a producer of Hitman. Yeah. And then we just had Mark Hughes on last night. Was it last night, Kyle? Was that Tuesday?
2 nights ago?
The days are kind of like going in. So like 91 with like 2 in the pipeline waiting to be released.
Right on. Okay, so let's jump into our Wonder Woman review. Let's talk about it. We'll do a little round table thing. Let's just...
How many times have you guys seen it?
Yeah, good question.
Good question.
I've still only seen it the one time on opening night.
All right, let's close his window.
My window too, because I've only had time to see it once as well. Right. But I plan on seeing it a couple more times. Just I'm on like this 9-day work straight thing, so it's kind of like
yeah. Feel you. Yeah, we actually got the chance to go to one of the. I was lucky. I just happened to see Gal Gadot's tweet as she tweeted about the fan screening, so I snagged us a pair of tickets, so we got to see it at the fan screening, and then we, both have seen it one more additional time since then.
I went with my wife to go see it, and she was like very, what's the word? Hesitant, I guess. She was like, "This better be good," like this, and I was kind of like this, and like as the movie kept going, she was like, "All right, I'm listening." So like if it won her over, then that's trust me, that's woo.
All right, so one thing we've done our regular review for Wonder Woman.
Now it's extreme.
Yeah. So one thing that happened when I don't know if you guys know this, when we did our review, I don't know why you wouldn't know this. When we did our review, we had some technical issues, so we lost a little bit of it. So I'm going to kind of try to point out some of the things that we may have lost in our things. And one of those things is talking about Patty Jenkins. We completely lost all the footage of us talking about what a great job Patty Jenkins did with this movie. Mm-hmm. So what are your guys' thoughts on like how she did directing the film and everything? Bringing this character to life on the screen for the first time.
I'll let Kyle take that one.
Yeah, I really believe she did a fantastic job. Like, just it's kind of, if you pay attention to like any scene, especially at the earlier parts when they're still on the island there, every scene is just gorgeous. Like, you can tell there was a ton of work put into every frame of that movie. Like, you can just see it frame by frame how much they really wanted to make this just pop out, just how much they wanted people to really get wowed by this project here. And just kind of like hearing the enthusiasm that Patty Jenkins has had for the character and kind of the whole universe as a whole. In each of her interviews, you can just tell that this is almost like a passion project of hers, and there's just so much enthusiasm going into it. I think she just knocked it out of the park with this movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think with Patty, it was like Patty Jenkins directed it, but somehow like through osmosis, like Richard Donner like seeped into her.
Yeah.
You could feel like. I really take this movie as the 2017 Wonder Woman is a lot like the 1978 Superman the movie. Just it had feel to it, where you're laughing, where you're like really emotionally connected with the characters, and at the heart of the movie is this love story between these two characters that had just met, kind of like Clark, well, I wouldn't say Clark, but Superman and Lois in Superman the movie. They're kind of like pushed together, and you can, and it just worked so well. The story was, well conceived. It was just a classic origin story told in 2017. Like I tweeted the other day, like 3 of like my favorite origin like comic book superhero movies, and first one was Superman the movie, second one was Batman Begins, and then Wonder Woman. It works on so many different levels. The action was amazing. No Man's Land. And then like my personal favorite action moment was when she jumps into the bell tower and it just crumbles. Yeah. I was like, oh, I've never seen that before. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go as quickly as we can, just kind of go through the movie from beginning to end. Let's start with the opening. Present day in Paris. She's working at the Louvre Museum and everything, and she gets that photograph from Bruce, the original photograph. How did you think? Did you think that was necessary to kind of set it in present day? Is kind of bookending it with those
like Captain America.
Scenes? Yeah.
I thought it was fine. I thought there was gonna be. I thought Bruce was gonna pop up at that. Like kind of a thing. I was like, oh man, we're gonna see Ben Affleck again. But
he's one of the guys delivering. He's got a hat on, and he looks up and he's like, eh?
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. I was like, Ben Affleck's in this movie? Yes. I thought it was interesting to kind of like you said, bookend it. I didn't expect that, but I liked the subtleness of it, because a lot of people have been complaining a lot with like this shared universe. They throw way too much of that into it, and I thought that was the way that they kind of dealt with that was dealt appropriately.
So then we jump ahead or jump into the past with Themyscira. We can see the stuff with baby Diana, her as a child. I really enjoyed that stuff with the young version of Diana. What did you guys think of that?
I liked how the way she played the character, which is she just wants to do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. Like, I don't always need like a big grand like, oh, this is why I do this, like a Batman. Like Batman's story works for him, but it doesn't necessarily need to be like she doesn't necessarily come from like a super tragic type thing. It's just like, this is what we should be doing. We should be helping these people.
Honestly, like for me, that opening was like with her as like a young and kind of her training, like to me was the weakest moments of the film. Like you kind of felt like it felt like it like kind of was like slow pacing and everything. Like, I don't know, like just how I felt like first viewing. Like I want to see it again just because I was like, man, am I being too harsh and too critical on that? But like other than that, like that was like the only part of the film that I was like, let's whip this quicker. I don't know, Kyle, did you think that?
I'll just say real quick, I can see that because the first time I saw the movie, I was ready to get into it. I was like, let's go. The second time I saw the movie, I was a little bit, I knew it was coming, so I kind of like enjoyed it as it was happening and everything. But I get what you're saying there. Kyle, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I pretty much enjoyed the entirety of the first act, I guess you could call it. Particularly the parts where she's the child. I found that kind of having her be this very curious, like very interested in everything kind of child. Like, oh, she wants to go with the adults and train.
Yeah.
She wants to learn more stories about her people and all that. Really definitely helped as she grew into the adult. And you can tell that she still had that natural curiosity about her, especially as the other people started showing up. Steve Trevor, she started venturing out into London. She just kept that natural curiosity about her the entire time up until the very end of the movie.
Did anyone else notice, or maybe you'll like be able to notice more of like if you go back and see it the second time, when her mom is telling her the story, there's like a silhouette on that mountaintop of like, it looks very Justice League.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's like there's literally like a dude with a trident.
Oh, nice.
So I'm like looking, I was like, all right, that's Aquaman. Who else is like what kind of up there?
So yeah, we'll get into the, we see that, like you're saying, that Ares like backstory and everything. I thought that was a really cool way of introducing that character because I mean, again, this is our spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the film yet, I don't know what the hell you're doing watching this, but so Ares is the villain, but we don't really get to see much of Ares. Just there's a lot of talk of him throughout the movie until the very end. How did you feel? How did you think that worked with setting Ares up so early on and just kind of hearing about him until the end?
It was interesting. I'm not well versed in like the entire backstory of Wonder Woman, so I thought that it kind of filled in those parts that I was kind of lacking. Like I've read Wonder Woman comics, but it's not like something I go out and pick up every time I go to the comic book shop. Especially like the really like origin stuff I thought it was dealt appropriately. Like it was always something that was lurking in the back of your mind of who this person is, but you're still more interested in Wonder Woman.
Yeah. And that's like what a lot of superhero movies these days, they're especially the Marvel movies, their focus is on the heroes. The villains are kind of like an afterthought almost. They're just kind of a story mechanic to get the hero through his story and everything. And as a comic book reader, I love all these villains. So, there's so many great villains and stuff, and I want to see the villains get a little more. But, I mean, yeah, when you're doing these movies with these great heroic characters, they always try to make them the most important thing, which is obvious.
I mean, the movie's called Thor. It's not called Loki.
Yeah. Although Loki's like one of the few
wouldn't be
exceptions.
bad, though. As I said, I was like, all right, you got my $10.
So one of the things I want to talk about, the training, Diana, like, I love the whole thing of, and I mean, you listened to Tell 'em Steve did. You guys said you listened to Fat Man and Batman. Do you listen to any other Kevin Smith's podcast or any of the other Smodcast network?
Hollywood Babylon, I listen to pretty regularly. And listen to Tell 'em Steve Dave if I'm waiting for a good episode of Batman and Batman. And then that's about it when it comes to his podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, this comic book one with Ming Chen.
I can't do that one.
That one that I listen to if there's like really nothing else to listen to. I'm like, throw that one on.
I'm gonna send this to Brian. We're big fans of this stuff. And Q on that show, he was doing kind of his Wonder Woman review. Brian Quinn, Q from Impractical Jokers, if you're not aware of the podcast and everything, he was talking about how he liked the way that Wonder Woman was trained in this movie. How she's like, we're gonna train her, 5 times harder, 10 times harder than anybody else. And I also really appreciated that thing, that part of, make her the badass that she needs to be. She just doesn't come out of the package like perfect and this ultimate warrior and everything. It took years and years, and we don't know how long that training took because they're immortal and everything. I really liked that. What do you guys think of that part of it, the training? We only got to see a little bit of the training scene of her as an adult, but like, what do you think?
I think they did a great job of setting her, like you said, to set her up as the badass. Like, this is definitely a person you're like, oh yeah, as soon as she gets fired up, she's pumped up, she's just gonna kick everybody's ass, no problem. Even Ares doesn't stand a chance. But like, before that, we get the scene where her aunt is like trying to start the train, like they're out in the woods, kind of secretive, doing the setup there, and then they get found out by the mother character, and then she kind of breaks up the whole thing. And then there's the exchange that goes on, and they kind of had the discussion of like, you need to train her as hard as you can, even though you get the sense that Diana's mother is reluctant because she doesn't want to train her daughter to be this warrior that's going to go out in the face of danger and risk her life potentially. But deep inside, she knows she has to, and this is her destiny to be this warrior. I thought the whole thing was really great.
Yeah. And I think we should point out we didn't really get to name check these guys either. Connie Nielsen as Queen Hippolyta and Robin Wright as Antiope. Is that right? Antiope. These crazy Greek names. Antiope. Yeah, I thought they were both fantastic, and it was kind of a bummer that once we left the Mascara, we didn't really get to see much of them. But from what it sounds like, they're going to be in Justice League, and from what I've heard about, like possibly, the mother boxes are a big part of Justice League, and the story is that there were 3 mother boxes. One were guarded by the humans, one were guarded by the Atlanteans, and one were guarded by the Amazonians. We'll hopefully be seeing both of. I believe Robin Wright is coming back too in the movie. I don't know if it's a flashback or what. Because spoiler alert, she doesn't make it past the first act of the movie. And so yeah, let's get to that part. The Wonder Woman. Well, she goes off, sees the plane come through. Steve Trevor arrives on Paradise Island, and then there's that whole battle and everything. How did you guys? Did you guys enjoy that fight scene, that crazy battle with the Amazonians versus the Germans?
No.
I love that battle until Jenny from Forrest Gump died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
thought for me that was like one of the best action sequences.
Jenny. I really do.
Jenny.
She was so mean to Tom Hanks. There's just God.
She was.
For no reason. Oh, well. That's for the next podcast.
We'll have you back to talk about Forrest Gump, or spoiler review. Forrest Gump.
That's not a bad idea, though.
I think that it's one of the best action sequences I've ever seen in any superhero movie. And I love how it was shot. Like, it was in daylight. It was just beautiful. Yeah. I honestly, the only thing I didn't like about it wasn't long enough. I wanted to see more. Yeah. It was 3 minutes. I was like, no, that's it. Aww. Yeah. Jenny died.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of negatives in the movie. And going in, I was kind of nervous about Gal Gadot's performance because she's not the greatest actress in the world. She's comes from a different modeling world and all that stuff, and she's only kind of been doing these acting roles for the last couple years in the Fast and the Furious movies and stuff like that. But overall, I would say I thought she did a great job in that. And I think more than anything, she makes an amazing Wonder Woman. But there's a couple of moments in the movie, and this is one in particular, the death of her is it her aunt? Do you guys? I believe Hippolyta says my sister. I
don't know if she means it
I didn't know if to take that literally or not. But because of Diana's closeness to her,
right?
I was thinking maybe that is literal and she actually is her aunt.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I felt that moment was one of the weaker acting moments for Gal Gadot. Yeah, just that moment where her aunt was dying and everything. That was one of my big issues, one of my few issues throughout the movie.
You could definitely tell that she isn't an experienced actress. If we were to put Anne Hathaway in that very same scene as Wonder Woman, I felt like she would have done a better, more convincing job. I definitely see where you're coming from. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't up to par of what that scene needed to be, if that made sense.
Yeah, that emotional impact that scene required and everything. So
yeah, she's not the strongest, but you can tell, and I appreciate that she's swinging for the fences at least.
She's
and a lot of you can tell that she's trying.
Yeah,
which I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that was an awesome battle and everything. Kyle, did you talk about the battle yet?
I haven't mentioned it recently, but I just want to just quickly chime in. So yeah, I really liked the battle. I don't really have any major qualms with it. I think like all the stunt work was great for it. All the effects were great for it. I thought it was just kind of weird how at the end, like the fight's going on, and she's just kind of standing there looking around. But
a lot, yeah, she did watch a lot of it.
Yeah,
like I get this is like her first real taste of maybe like combat, but other than that though, like it was great. I don't really have any major gripes with it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so after that, they bring Steve Trevor back to their crazy, I don't know what that place was with the crazy swirly statues and stuff like that, but that's the introduction of the golden lasso. I thought that was a really awesome way to introduce that, the lasso of truth. It's showing, because like, us...
Is that the only lasso they have?
I don't know.
Is it like, so did Diana just take the one...
She's like, well, now we don't know if anyone's telling the truth. Like she finally comes back to Themyscira years later, and it's just in ruins because the lies and deceit like destroyed Themyscira. This is no longer Paradise Island. This is an island of lies. So yeah, I thought that was an effective introduction of the lasso. What did you guys think?
I thought that was the scenes. For me, like since I've only seen it once, it works, but it's not as memorable because like right after that sequence is like that funny exchange. With, Chris Pine's pretty much naked. Like sorry, spoilers. But like to me, like you can't, like it was just. I wouldn't say it was a weird thing. It was just it was like just a fast jump to like that scene because they don't spend a lot of time with it, and it's such a quick jump to it, and like it doesn't have like you don't remember it as well because that next scene is such an iconic moment in that film, like the scene where they're talking and everything, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm above average," like that stuff.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's when you really get to see the chemistry of those characters, and like we've talked about how like in our review you were speaking about how there was maybe a little bit too much Steve Trevor in the movie.
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
In more ways than one in this scene in particular, but but like I think that wasn't only just because we needed a more experienced actor in this movie and stuff. It also had the added benefit of like their chemistry. It made her better too. Yeah. I feel like all that stuff kind of went hand in hand together. That the lasso scene and stuff, it is kind of brief and kind of like, but there's also the whole fact of like that story that he tells, like the flashbacks of his origins, him stealing the notebook and all that stuff. So the lasso part of it may get lost in that whole part of it as well. But like I was gonna point out and talk about that bath scene or whatever you want to call it. That was just a great moment in the movie.
My favorite scene.
I know. In all this stuff, yeah, I got it. So quickly, so we can move ahead and get off the island. Kyle, did you have any more thoughts on the island of Themyscira before we move on to their journey to London and all that stuff?
No, not really. I think everyone covered the bases pretty good so far.
All right, I'll throw to you next on this one. They get the boat. They're leaving. She goes, gets like the sword and the lasso and the costume and all that stuff. The great moment, her climbing and figuring out. She's like kind of figuring out her powers.
Yeah, I like that. Along. Like that she did that. It wasn't just like a overnight. Like, oh, I've got all these powers. It's like, wait, if I can do this, maybe I can do this. I like that. Yeah.
And like the whole like the bracelet, like slamming the bracelet thing into that kind of power surge thing, like.
The second you find out you can do that, how many times are you going to do
that? Oh, I'm doing it all day. Like, I'm just running around, just running up to people like, hey, asshole! Just, like, slamming it, just throwing them back.
There's, like, a fly, and you just...
Yeah. You couldn't stop me from doing that.
Well, that's how I cook my lobster thermidor.
Yep.
All right, so she gets all that stuff. She goes, there's the boat ride. Kyle, what did you think about that boat ride scene?
A lot funnier than I expected, honestly.
Yeah.
Just the banter between those two had me cracking up in my seat during that showing there. Just all the textbooks and all the details of man and woman and proper etiquette. Man, the execution of some of those lines was just perfect. I don't know how they pulled it off. I'm so glad they did, because that was, for me, one of the most memorable scenes of the entire movie.
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but I believe I read in a recent article that scene was mostly improvised as well.
You could kind of feel that a little bit. It didn't feel, not that it was bad, but just that like it was what's the word? Organic, I guess.
Yeah. It really felt like. I wonder how maybe that was a little later into the production that they shot that.
Probably.
So they were kind of knew each other a little better in those moments. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Like that was one of my favorite, like, kind of more humorous, like, scenes in the movie for sure. So they get to London. They, it's this whole, like, fish out of water thing.
That stuff's always fun.
Yeah, and I thought she was really charming and all that stuff. The just her not understanding the world and her just acting like. We get to meet Etta Candy, who was one of my favorite characters in the movie. I thought she wasn't in the movie enough for my liking. I thought she was great in it. What did you think about what did you guys think about all this stuff? Her coming to London, meeting Etta Candy, the like fashion show kind of aspect.
That part of it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Thor. Like when he goes to the pet store and he's like, I need a horse.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the kind of humor I like, when it's like, they're not dumb, but they're just like out of context. They don't know what the hell they're really doing. So it's, you can't get a horse from a pet store.
What do you mean you can't get an animal from the animal store? What are you talking about? Makes perfect sense.
I say fashion show, but like that's not really like a derogatory thing. Like I love those scenes in superhero related stuff. Like usually it's the reverse though. Usually it's the superheroes trying on the superhero outfits. Like I remember like the first episode of Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
Like you see him, like his mom making him the costumes. He's trying the different things out. It's usually in that context, but in this context, it's her like normal, everyday, like kind of disguise to blend in with the rest of the real world.
There's one quick bit where they're walking through the street and she sees a baby, and she goes, "A baby!"
I love that.
Now, is it that she just has straight up never seen a baby?
She's never seen a baby. She was the first like baby on the mascara, like in thousands of years.
But how?
I remember a line where her mother says she's the only child on the island.
Yeah.
So
and I don't think there was any after that.
So they're all just that age from the get-go?
I don't necessarily
know
that,
to just
but
be.
She's definitely the youngest person on the island, so she would have never seen a baby or anything like that. But yeah, that was a great moment because like it was like totally in character. She would never have seen a baby before, so like I love that. That was a great reaction.
That's how I react when I see a dog. I'm like, a doggy.
I can vouch for that. It definitely is. So yeah, what did you guys think about all this stuff, coming to London and stuff?
I thought it was awesome. I thought that little dress-up scene was hysterical. I really like. Those scenes like it just kind of like it wasn't like heavy narrative. It was just kind of like showing like them like the day-to-day lives that they kind of lead, but it was still kind of like, all right, come on, let's go. We gotta go do this. Let's go do that. Like it was hysterical. Like she's all like inquisitive. Like could you just imagine if that scene was like 2016 and there's like a pizza store? She's like, pizza! Like how awesome that'd be.
Yeah.
Oh, I did love the ice cream thing though. Yeah. Because that's straight out of the New 52. I think it's Justice League number 3.
I wanted more of that little bit, though.
Yeah. You should be very proud. Like, that was a perfect moment for me. Like, that combined with the baby, or like just the little things that she did really made me laugh. Like, in the scene where they introduced Sir Patrick, David Thewlis's character, that whole thing, it's just all the British guys, standing around like arguing, and just it's
really
like the South Park,
that,
rabble,
that stereotype, like a woman.
Yeah, and like just my favorite moments is he's like Chris Pine's pulling her out, and she's like, "You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed." Whatever, as they're like dragging him out. I love that stuff.
Carla really liked all that stuff. There's I can't remember what the line was. One of them says something in regards to like, a woman can't be in here, or like you're just a woman, something like that, and like Wonder Woman gave like a face of like, mother. Carla really liked that part.
Yeah. So what did you guys think of Sir Patrick and all that stuff? Were you suspicious of his character at all during this point of the film?
No.
I kind of like I saw some spoilers about who he was, and like the whole toy thing popped in. So the entire thing, I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't see any of that. I was like I don't know who it is. I thought it was the general dude.
Ludendorff? Yeah, that's what the movie wants you to think, is that he's Ares the whole time. But yeah, just like Justin, I saw the same stuff.
Yeah.
So I had that back in my head. I didn't know for sure. I didn't know if it was confirmed or anything like that. I just had that thing implanted in my head that David Thewlis might end up being Ares. So that kind of ruined that for me.
Carla had a thought, like, well, I asked her afterwards, I was like, oh, so did you kind of guess who it was going to be? She was like, I kind of thought what they would do is, like, it's not specifically that guy, but, like, Ares is, like, a shapeshifter type.
Yeah. Like,
kind of whispering. She's like, I thought it was going to be Dr. Poison. I was like, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would have been an interesting twist.
Like, very, like, in your face, like, here's some poison to kill everybody.
Yeah. Kyle, did that get tipped?
Hey, why don't you let the man...
Gentlemen.
Robber.
Like, I had this hunch that Ludendorff was going to be a red herring the whole time. Like, he wasn't the real villain. He was just kind of there.
Yeah.
But I didn't really expect who Ares actually was. Like, part of me thought maybe it's going to be one of these other companions that they hired on later, like maybe Charlie or something.
Yeah. That'd be good.
Because there was that weird moment early on where they set up Charlie to be like this badass sniper guy, but then he kind of chokes in the moment. So I'm like, I wonder if that's going to do something later on, but never really led to anything. But yeah, so when I actually did get to the end, it did surprise me a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's talk about those guys. The team that they recruit.
Howling Commandos.
It's kind of like they're Howling Commandos. We talked about in our review, like, there's a lot of similarities. Like, this movie is like Superman the movie and Captain America the First Avenger and like all that stuff.
Literally, a dude named Steve flies a plane full of bombs.
Yeah.
Like, away somewhere.
He must sacrifice himself in a plane crash.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, but yeah, so they were kind of like, I don't know if they necessarily even had a name, like a code name of their team, but it was Samir, Charlie, and the Chief were the three guys that they recruited on there. What did you think of those guys?
I loved them all. I just wish that they would have, like, I know I'm probably getting ahead of myself. I wish that there would have been more of like a little payoff at the end with their characters. I thought I for some reason I liked the Chief a lot more. I don't know why. But I was like, man, he's really interesting. I'm like, can they have a spin-off movie with just like the Chief and like these other guys that are in, and they're just like palling around in like Europe in like the 1920s? I like to see that.
Let's get like a band of brothers with them or something.
Yeah. Like making a Netflix show or something.
I really like that Charlie couldn't shoot like in the moment, because like you would expect like, oh, he's gonna do a bunch of cool stuff. I was like, it's more human. You know,
he's like that. He's suffering like that PTSD and
like,
stuff.
I try to do stuff all the time. It doesn't work out. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's a more human story there. I was surprised that like in the end he didn't like finally make that shot kind of thing, like that typical Hollywood thing. But I'm okay when they don't always go the typical Hollywood route. Yeah.
He can't play a mean piano though.
Yeah.
Yeah, there he is.
But who's gonna sing? I did love that. I did love that moment. So yeah, let's jump ahead to the front lines. This whole time she's trying to get to the front lines. They get there, that awesome no man's land scene.
I cried like a bitch.
I want to say real quick two things. One, that no man's land scene. I tweeted that it's in my top 5 superhero movie moments of all time. Like, I loved that scene. Like, everything from her climbing the ladder, crossing the field, and then going into the town and kicking everyone's ass, and the Wonder Woman music finally kicks in.
Yep.
And like, that's the moment where she becomes Wonder Woman for me. And I loved all that stuff. But it is preceded by one of my other big problems with the movie. There's just one thing that really got under my craw or whatever. It was the moment where, he's talking, Chris Pine's like, that's not what we came here for. And then she kind of turns around, and it's slow motion, and and because it's slow motion, it kind of drags it out. but she like turns around and lets down her hair, and it's like this like long, like she's behind her and she's putting the tiara on, and it's like it just was really drug out for me. And then she turns around and she's like, "It's what I came here for." Mm-hmm. And like I felt like they could have sped that up a little bit. It was a little too long of just her turning around to fix her hair. I was like, come on, we don't need that. Like, just get to it.
It would be really funny if she like got out like a little scrunchie just to.
it kind of like, I mean, I as a person with long hair, I get that, but like, it kind of took a little bit away from the impact of that line, because like by the time she finally turns around and delivers it, I forgot what the hell he said. Yeah. But yeah, that was just a little nitpicky thing. Overall, that was my favorite scene of the movie and everything. What did you guys think about the whole no man's land sequence?
Yeah, I think it's probably the most common answer is that the no man's land scene is probably the standout part of the movie. Yeah, and I totally agree. That was my favorite part. I definitely need to see that a second time. I think when I eventually do get around to seeing it again, that's going to be the part I'm waiting for the most. Like, I'm ready for this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to enjoy this, every single frame of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like Kyle said, like my body's ready to see it again.
Yeah.
What you saying about the scrunchie? Like as soon as you said that, I was like, what this needs is like the South Park, the montage thing that they always do.
Yeah.
Like the train montage. I was like, man, if they really wanted to make this movie amazing, they should put that song in. But I like like I said, the No Man's Land thing was awesome. But like I said, my favorite part, like when she's in the bell tower and just completely collapses. And then she like jumps through like and kicks everyone's ass in there like that.
Yeah.
That stuff was shot so interesting. Like it wasn't like there was some slow motion in it, but it wasn't like we've seen before. There was just a little like tilt in the angles, like just interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, she's such a badass. Like it's like whoa, it's like Superman flying for the first time. But it's like this Wonder Woman being Wonder Woman for the first time.
Yeah, just being a badass at war.
I really liked her like whipping the shield around, like sliding on her knees on the and like just like cutting
and using the lasso. Yeah. Like the lasso was great. Like how she used that and everything.
I don't know why. Like thinking about like, oh, how are they going to do like the lasso? Like, did not occur to me like, oh, you can just use CGI to make it like whip around and like do. It's like Thor's hammer when he's spinning it. Like, just I'm so stupid. Why? Of course they would do some CGI and make it do all this cool shit.
Yeah. So yeah, all that leads to they save the village and everything, and this is my favorite. Like the middle part of the movie, this whole stuff was all my favorite, including up to the village. There's that great moment with them, like they're kind of dancing or swaying.
There's a thing right before that, like when they're at the campsite the night before or whatever it is, she's talking to the chief, and she's like, "Oh, so you do these things for money?" And then the next day, like after the village, she sees like the villagers like trying to give him money, and he's like, "No."
Yeah, yeah.
And she takes like a little mental note. She's like, "Oh, okay, I get it."
Right on.
Like,
yeah.
I didn't catch that the first time.
Me neither. I didn't catch it until you just said it, But yeah, like I also want to say, like that moment, I thought it was just so charming. The people coming up to her and thanking her for saving them, and she just kind of that smile. She's smiling and like shaking their hands and all this stuff. And I was like, that's what I want in like one of these superhero in these movies. I mean, Batman. That's not Batman. That's not. We get shit about that sometimes. We've had a commenter and stuff say like, just enough with the smiling crap or whatever. But, I mean, that is important for characters like Wonder Woman and Superman.
Yeah, those two should smile. Batman should be like...
Yeah, Batman is not the smiley type. In fact, it goes the other way when he smiles. You see Val Kilmer smile as Batman.
Weird.
All right.
What are you going to do?
So, yeah, let's talk about that sequence of the movie, all the way from saving the village all the way through to them going to the gala the next day and stuff. What did you guys think about all that stuff?
I thought that you guys missed an important. Was that the part where they like it's kind of like hinted at that they like had like passionate love to each other?
Yeah,
I thought that was handled like that's this like obviously that all that other stuff is important, but I thought that love story really got pushed forward like right because that moment plays again at the end of the movie. I don't know. I thought that was handled extremely well. It was like it's like they saw the Killing Joke, the cartoon, like the animated film, and they're like, let's not do that. Let's make it more like classic.
Definitely not.
I don't know, like that, all that stuff, like the gala and them going to the village was important, but for me, like that moment, like they have that, the chemistry is perfect between those two, and it's kind of sad to see like his fate at the end of the movie, kind of because of that. So,
Kyle, what do you think about all that stuff?
I definitely thought all that was pretty well done, especially right up until the part where the gala starts. That's some people could probably say, oh yeah, it's a slower part of the movie. It slows down a bit after that awesome action sequence, but I think it really needed it right there. It definitely was time for us to, just like, okay, let's breathe. Let's catch up with the characters. How are they affected by what just happened? And like you mentioned, that scene between Diana and Steve Trevor there, that was really well done. I think they handled that perfectly fine. And then we also get that scene where everyone is swaying around, and that's when Charlie starts playing the music, and they have that moment where he's doubting himself, and Diana comes and picks him up, and says, "We need you. You're part of this team." So I thought that was all great.
Anyone else think that when Charlie was singing, it kind of sounded like he was starting to do like a Coldplay song? Is that just me?
I didn't. That might just be you. So, the gala was the next day. They go there. We haven't really talked about the villains, the Ludendorff and Dr. Poison. So, what did you guys think about those guys?
You mean Colonel William Stryker?
Yeah,
Stryker.
One of several strikers. How many times have they done that character in the last movies?
I really want. I like both of them. I wish that the Dr. Poison, whatever her name was, it was Dr. Poison, right?
Yeah, Dr. Poison was like what they called her.
I wish that she would have just came out and said, "It's like what you have here is venom," because that was I was like, is that venom? I was like, is that venom? I think it was, I'm like, are they trying to set something up for later on? So.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I
do know that in the comic books she has children and stuff like that continue on. I think so. We might, spoiler alert, she survives at the end. Wonder Woman lets her go in that great moment where Ares is trying to get her to kill, get Diana to kill Dr. Poison. So there's that potential out there for bringing at least a version of that character back. Like her children's children kind of thing. So that would be interesting if they kind of tied that into the whole Venom thing. So yeah, another scene in that I really like the scene with Dr. Poison and Steve pretending to be a German, and I really liked him doing the accent work there. The German, I was like, oh, I'd see a whole movie of him as a German character like this. I thought it was great. And then the dancing scene, Diana dancing with. She goes there to kill Ludendorff, and then he starts dancing with her and everything. And what did you guys think about those two little kind of pairing off of the heroes and villains in that gala scene?
I was hoping she'd pull out the sword and attack him right then and there.
Yeah,
I would have been like, man, she's really a badass. I don't it was fine. Like Kyle said that kind of stuff some people thought it slowed down. I didn't think so. I thought it grounded them even more into the time, the era that they're in. It was just very classic, elegantly put together. I don't know, she looked gorgeous in that blue dress with the sword. I don't know how no one thought no one was like, hey, why does that girl have a sword and I was like, Jeff Johns, you need to rewrite this script. But
it's ruined.
It made so much sense until that point of the movie. I don't know, it was we can gush about and praise. There's so much right, there's so little wrong. I'm trying to find little moments that I was like, man, I wish that this, but there's none of that. This movie is so well put together and so elegant, and it's. I don't know. It's for the only way to describe it, the cliche is it's like a fine wine. The more you talk about, the more you experience it, the more that it's it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah. So from this gala scene, it's all kind of downhill from there. It just keeps the ball rolling. So Kyle, you didn't quite like the gala scene?
No, I thought the gala scene was pretty good. I didn't have any major qualms with that.
Oh.
It was a pretty tense scene, especially the part where they started the dancing together, Ludendorff and Wonder Woman. That is, because like Justice, I was like, oh man, something's about to happen right here. She's either gonna like pull out the sword and start stabbing him, or Steve Trevor's just gonna run over and make a scene, or something's gonna happen here. But surprisingly, they kind of just like drifted apart and just kind of continued on their way. And I was like, oh, okay, got me worked up there. Well done.
I kind of thought that scene might have been a good place to trim a little bit of Steve Trevor out, like with him talking to Dr. Poison, like just kind of like maybe. But
yeah, but
I think there is some information that you get from it, but I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, but Dr. Poison didn't get a whole lot to shine in that movie. I think that was one of her best scenes, and that for that reason, keep it. Also, the whole like staring into the fire, like on the fire. That's like the most evil German thing he could possibly say in that moment. But yeah, so keeping it going, you know, Ludendorff gets away. They do the gas. They destroy the village that they saved earlier. Everyone in the village is dead. Like all that work was for nothing. That was a really bummer, like low point for them. That they have that fight, and then she storms off, and then she follows them back to the base where she confronts Ludendorff. How did you guys feel about that whole sequence of her, you know, confronting Ludendorff, who at that time she thinks is Ares? How did you guys think that whole thing played out?
I liked it, but I thought so they were in that little tower, and I thought like there maybe should have been more destruction in that little tower for the amount of strength and power that those two characters kind of had at that moment. They shouldn't kind of be like demolished if they're like smacking each other around in there. But that was really bad.
It's around this point where the movie starts to slip a little bit for me. Like the action sequence between Ludendorff and Diana, like you said, they're kind of just like shoving each other back and forth, but like doesn't really seem like any of the environment around them is reacting. They're just kind of like knocking each other against props, I guess you could say.
Knocking papers off a desk. That's about it.
Knocking papers off. Like, oh my god!
There better be another Ares, because if this is the finale, this fight scene in this little tower room thing.
I felt like how Wonder Woman felt. That she was saying, I was like, "Is that it?"
And stab, nothing.
Like she looks at her watch, she's like, "Ooh, still got another 15, 20
so
minutes."
How long?
So yeah, after that, there's the actual Ares reveal. What did you guys think of that reveal? How did you feel like seeing? You know, Justin, you were saying you kind of already suspected that, like I did. How did you guys feel when that reveal happened?
So I call BS because there is a moment where Professor Lupin, is shirtless. I was like, who did they superimpose his face on? Because there's no way he's got that body.
The thing that bugged me is that he still had the mustache in the flashback. I was like, why?
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? You know,
I'm like this movie really doesn't make sense, Jeff Johns.
Yeah, just the idea that the Greek god of war was some British guy with a mustache really threw me off.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really buy it for a second. I'm just like, okay.
See, that's where they could use the whole shape-shifting type thing.
That's exactly what I thought. When I heard that David Thewlis was going to be Ares, I thought it was going to be him, like in the form, taking the form of a David Thewlis, Sir Patrick guy, and then turning into Ares. No, underneath that mask and everything, it's still David Thewlis and everything. Which I like him as an actor, but I didn't imagine in old Greek times that Ares had that sweet mustache.
They almost brought it back for me when he started forming that armor around him. I'm like, okay, that's really cool. That's awesome looking armor. And then he does the thing where he sticks his fingers in the helmet and drags it down. It's like, oh, there's the mustache again. You ruined it. You almost had it.
Yeah.
Damn it, Shredder. I thought it looked reminiscent of the Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
What are they doing
But
here?
then again, I thought it was a perfect visual representation in live action. It was all CG and everything. But of the Ares from the comics and everything. Like I've been revisiting the Injustice. I revisited the first Injustice because I just got Injustice 2, and Ares is the character, and that's what he looks like, dude. That armor and everything looks great. I thought visually speaking, he looked great in those scenes. But yeah, it's just the mustache bugs me. So let's talk about just the whole finale at this point. The sacrifice of Steve Trevor, the final words that he says to Diana, the fight with Ares, and all that stuff. What were your overall thoughts on all that stuff?
I liked when there's like the big explosion, and Steve is like telling her like what he's about to do with the plane and all that. I like that you couldn't hear what he was saying, but then they like immediately flash back to it, and you can hear it.
Yeah, like 2 seconds later.
But what if she's just, that's just what she thinks that he said.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, they did leave it kind of ambiguous, so you never really know if that's actually what happened or not.
Yeah.
It's that, like, lost in translation, like the final moments of that where he whispers in her ear and everything. Yeah. I kind of like the idea of us not knowing what he said to her there. I think that made it more powerful, but the whole point of them flashing back is when she's got the tank or whatever lifted up and Dr. Poison's there, she has the opportunity to crush her and everything. Mm-hmm. She remembers back to what Chris Pine says, but I don't know if I really needed that. Like,
no, I don't either.
Because his whole thing of sacrificing his life, was about, saving people.
Yeah.
And if Wonder Woman was just straight up kill Dr. Poison right there, that would have been a little too much. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it still could have worked without that flashing back again to his last words to her. Mm-hmm. What'd you guys think?
I think it was fine for the most part, the way they handled it. Definitely would have been interesting if they had gone the route where they don't actually reveal what he said.
Yeah. And
then we're left thinking, like, okay, maybe we'd have to interpret like what she heard based off of what her actions were after that. Mm-hmm. Might not have flown with every audience member, so I can kind of see why they did what they did. But
it's not a Hollywood move.
It kind of reminds me of like Dark Knight Rises, where it's like I'd rather not know whether or not he got out of the plane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just thought it was like a really pretty moment when he's like in the thing and he kind of takes like a little sigh. Like,
yeah.
I'm all right with this.
Yeah, it's like
they're like, no, he's fine.
To bring it back to Christopher Nolan again, it's the top spinning in Inception. Does it keep spinning or does it fall? Like no, I like those kind of things. Oh, okay, I didn't see the extended cut. The extended cut is 2 seconds longer.
Yeah. There's the extended cut. It just goes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right. So yeah. What? Any other thoughts on this whole like climactic moments and everything? Talk about like her reaction to Steve Trevor when the plane explodes. Any of that?
I'm convinced that he's alive and they fix the autopilot, and that they'll go and do they'll go to like some French coffee place.
Yeah, when he's like 90.
Yeah.
Charlie just looks over and sees him. Right on.
Well, no, he's playing the piano off to the side.
Okay. Yeah, he's playing the piano there.
The chief. The chief.
There you go.
That's the end of the spin-off movie with those guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect end.
It works. It connects with it. It connects.
Yeah. So So after all that, and I will say that I think the reverse of what I said earlier on about Antiope's death and her reaction to that, I thought her reaction to Steve's death was one of her stronger moments as a performer as well, and like that just is built upon through the whole movie of their chemistry, and then that final moment. And then, leading to the end, everyone's celebrating, and she goes up to that bulletin board with his picture on it, and then that brings us back to the present day. She emails Bruce Wayne. Always got to do the emails in the DC movies. That's how everyone communicates. I get that it's just, visually speaking, it's not the best, like for a film, it's not the best, way of seeing two characters interact.
Not very exciting.
Yeah. But I did love the sentiment there. Like, thanks for bringing him back to me. And that's what the whole movie was about. Like her seeing that picture of him and having that again.
Do you think that that's where she could get her invisible jet? Like, what if Bruce Wayne builds her like a jet, but like also has like the camouflage type thing?
I'd be down with that.
Right? I mean, it would make she doesn't need it, I don't think. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know the origins of the invisible jet in the comics or any of that. Like, where the hell does she get it? I mean, I thought maybe we'd see her flying in the movie, but they didn't. It's more jumping.
Yeah. Like
the Hulk kind of thing.
Just leaping around the world.
Yeah. So any other final thoughts on the movie?
It's a home run. It's a smash hit. I'm excited for what is coming next in the Like, I was already excited for Justice League, but now I'm even more excited for Justice League just because of how badass Wonder Woman is,
Yeah.
and how I'm looking forward to a continuation of her story in Justice League, and then potentially in Wonder Woman 2, where hopefully it's set like right in World War II or present day, or I don't.
Yeah.
I guess the jury's still out on what they're going to do with that, but
either way would be neat.
I think that the only issue that I had with the ending was you really did, like, you spent all the time with like these tertiary characters, but for me they didn't get like paid off as well as I'd like them to be. But other than that, I thought it was a well done movie. I mean, I wish I would have seen the Invisible Jet, or did we see it?
That's what she was jumping into at the end.
Yeah. It was there the whole time.
So, Kyle, final thoughts on the film?
I really enjoyed it. I think, in my personal opinion, so far the DCU had a couple of stumbles here and there, but Wonder Woman brought it back for me, and I'm definitely kind of have like this renewed sense that they're more confident in what they do with these films. And going forward, I am expecting maybe more projects like Wonder Woman is what we're going to see.
Hopefully, yeah. Any last words on the movie?
No, I thought it was like just a really good balance of some humor, some serious stuff, and action. Yeah.
I think they hit all of those elements right, and I don't have any big like story problems or stuff like that. I have fewer negatives in this movie than I have of any of the other DCEU movies so far. So this is my favorite DCEU movie so far, and I'm really happy and excited to see where that goes with Justice League and into the future. Did you guys do like a rating thing? I know you guys reviewed it on your podcast. Did you give the movie a rating?
I think I rated it. I like it just as much as Man of Steel.
Yeah.
So like it's still like though it's I don't know, like a 9.2, I guess. I give Man of Steel the same thing. Like great film. Looking forward to what's going on. Nobody complained too much about the ending or it being too dark or too light or this or that. It hit all the marks it needed to do. Jeff Johns is clearly, you could feel his fingerprints all over the film, and I'm looking forward to the future going forward. Like now we have like a successful, like critically acclaimed DCEU movie. So now we can just kind of like take a deep breath and just enjoy the ride going forward.
Yeah. Kyle, what was your score for the film?
I would rate it about a 9 out of 10. I think this is a very solid movie, very few flaws. Anyone that is a fan of comic book movies or just action movies in general should probably make some time and go see it.
In my first review, I gave it an 8.5, but after seeing it again and just thinking about it a little longer, I think I bumped that up to a 9 as well. Just like some of the things that, maybe nitpicky things that bugged me a little bit the first time around, didn't bother me quite as much the second time around, especially because, I had already seen the movie, so I knew where everything was going and how I felt about the movie as a whole. So some of those things just kind of slipped through the cracks and didn't bother me as much. In your review,
I can't remember what I gave it.
I think you gave it a 7 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah, that's kind of.
I liked it a lot more the second time.
Yeah, I know you liked it a lot more.
Yeah.
What would you give it?
Easily like a 9 or a 10.
Right on. Okay.
I think it was because like the first time I'm just like kind of, I don't know, like the second time you watch it, like you got the information, now you can like enjoy it more. So I think easily like a 9 or a 10.
Right on. So
you going in like, oh man, we might have another bomb on our hands.
A little hesitant, like maybe a little overcritical of like the little tiny nitpicky things at first, but then like second, they're like, oh well, that makes sense now, and it's
once you know the whole grand scheme of things. All right, well, so there's our spoiler roundtable review. You guys want to tell? Unfortunately, Tom didn't get to join us here. It doesn't look like. So it's sad to miss him. Maybe next time, some other time we'll have you guys on. We'll be able to add him to the mix. So you want to tell everybody where people can find you? Go ahead real quick, Kyle.
If you are on the Twitters there, you can find me at Looting Kyle. And you can also find just general Shanlian and Batman stuff on Twitter at Shanlian and Batman. Or Shanlian and Bat it is.
Yeah, Shanlian and Bat. Okay, and Justin?
You can find me on Twitter at Batman Shanlian, and you can find us on Facebook at Shanlian on Batman.
Okay, you want to spell that real quick? The
Shanlian, and then
Gotcha.
just on.
Right on. All right, and if you're watching this, you know where to find us. But guys, thanks for coming on to the podcast and everything, talking about Wonder Woman. It was a fun chat with you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, thank you.
And that was our Wonder Woman spoiler review.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Big thanks to the guys from the Shanlian on Batman podcast, Justin Shanlian and Kyle Davis, for coming out, talking to us. Sorry we couldn't have Tom Harper on the podcast, but maybe next time we have those guys on, he'll be able to join us as well. If you like this episode, please, head on down, hit the like button. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment. Let us know what you like. If you... What are you doing? Idiot. Please do us a favor, go on iTunes and subscribe to this podcast and leave us a review. That's the most important thing you could do to help people find this show, and that'll definitely help us out. Share this show with your friends on social media. On Facebook, we're on facebook.com/theamazingnerdiverse. On Instagram, we're at Amazing Nerdiverse, and on Twitter, I am at Jeff_Grants.
I'm right here.
That's at Steven Tugert. And we are at Nerdiverse Pod for the show, Twitter. And then please go to theamazingnerdiverse.com for all that and very little more. And until next time, I'm Jeff Grants.
I'm Steven Tugert.
We'll catch you right here next time in The Amazing Nerdiverse.
Hoot 'em. Spider-Man.
It's the Wonder Woman review.
I can't like both.
I'm going to do the ching.
Spider-Man.
Idiot.